Did TreVeyon Henderson 38th overall in the draft, round 2, going back to last Friday night. If you could believe it, round 1 was a week ago.
Feels like 2 weeks ago, huh?
It was a full week ago now. What do you think about how they use this running back in their offense, Bird? How much usage will he get? How much playing time does he get? How does the, pecking order go now?
One thing that helped boost his stock over the course of this process was actually the success that Jahmyr Gibbs had in Detroit. And, I think that it would sort of be the ideal. It actually played out at Ohio State this year, too, where they took a little bit more off of him with Judkins being there and being kind of the between the tackles and short yardage guy. They were able to do a little bit more. And I think TreVeyon looked more explosive as a result of it. Now, he's always been super explosive. I was in the stands at his first college game. They played at Minnesota. He was a true freshman right out of high school and basically ran away from everybody for a 70-yard touchdown on one of his first touches, as a college player, which I think gives you some confidence that he's going to be able to adjust to a new level well because he did it so fast in college. He may not have quite the shake that Gibbs has. Gibbs is really shifty. But is probably, I would say, probably a little more explosive.
Yeah, we don't have one guy right now out of the backfield that makes the first guy miss.
Yeah.
If he could just make the first guy miss, you're picking up 8 yards.
And the thing about this guy, too, is, I think he'll be able to develop as a receiver where he'll be able to do a little bit more. Now, Chip didn't ask him to do a ton last year. It's just as far as running routes and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But my understanding is, he showed that at the pro day. They made a point of showing at the pro day that he can do it.
It's the way Genti did it, too, at his pro day. Hey, I could catch.
And, I do think, the pass protection part of it, the fact that he's so good in that area will get him on the field early.
That's what they like more than the speed.
If you can't do it, if you can't do that, I know fans don't care about that. But, the reality is it's a huge problem for the offense if you've got a back out there on third down who cannot pass protect because you're basically telling the defense, here's where you come and attack us. Yeah. Or we're absolutely throwing the ball to him. And I think the cool thing about it, too, is it helps your quarterback in this way where he's going to create layups, right?
Right.
He's the guy who can take a 5-yard throw 80, and
right.
So I just think in so many different ways, this is a very Drake-friendly pick. Maybe in the same way, Josh wasn't the OC back then, but when Brady was a young player, how valuable Falk was to him.
Oh, yeah.
And
then it carried over to Verrain, and then same thing with James. But, I can't tell you how many times a year ago and even 2 years ago, and I talk about this with Bob, during the game, the spacing. You'd have Hunter Henry here, and there's a receiver 2 yards behind him. Then here comes Booty in on a in cut where you got 3 guys within 5 yards, and that's not the spacing. And everybody tells the McDaniels thing let's get back to the same Josh McDaniels offense. And when Josh first got the gig here, and I ran into him, he told me, "Hey, remember, out of statue for a quarterback. Now he was damn good, but we always knew where he was going to be. And I have moved around and I've seen other things." So he has studied other elements than his own. So I don't know what that means.
I don't know for sure what the percentages would be, but my impression was he spent more time studying college football last year than he did pro.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why, I think it was very intentional by him, because I do think to some degree he recognizes the problem with the offense at the end here wasn't the quarterback, because he could make it work for the quarterback. It was for everybody else. And so it became so complicated and so tied up in option routes and all that different stuff that require people to think at a high level, because that's what got the most out of Brady, right? And so I think you get to a point where it's the point of entry. That's why they could never find rookie receivers who could play.
Right.
Right?
Because Amendola would think. Edelman would think.
Right.
Gronkowski, for as much as people make fun,
was smart.
One of the smartest football players.
But it was really rare that you'd have rookie receivers that could play early here. It was almost always veterans, Moss, Welker.
Mitchell was the only one.
Even a Brandon Lloyd that were coming in and playing.
Not true, because
Malcolm Mitchell was the one that...
Earlier in Tom Brady's time, what year did Weiss leave?
04 was his last
year. Okay, so never mind. Weiss was decent integrating young
Who you
guys.
think?
Like David Gibbons came in
David
right
Gibbons
away
and Deion
produced.
Branch.
Deion Branch produced, but that was
also
before things got overly complicated and they
because
kept tacking onto the offense.
That's when Brady was really young, so
Right.
Brady wasn't there yet either.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So like I think
We're talking more like the end
It
of
wasn't
the
as complicated.
So the point is, like, a big part of Josh's study into college last year was to get a better understanding of where these guys are coming from and where these guys are at when they go into the pros. So it would allow him to tailor the offense better to what they're going to know, what they're going to be able to do. And you'd hope that would mean that a guy like Kyle Williams has a much better shot than some of the receivers that maybe came in here 10 or 15 years ago.
Receivers taken in the first 3 rounds by the Patriots going back over the last 20-plus years. Branch, Bethel Johnson, Chad Jackson, Brandon Tate, Taylor Price, Aaron Dobson, N'Keal Harry, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Polk.
I was a big Chad Jackson
Me
guy
too.
back in the
Yeah.
day. When they drafted him.
He had the whole look.
Dude, like his rookie minicamp.
He could fly.
Rookie minicamp. I was at his rookie minicamp. It was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be like the next coming of Terrell Owens.
I remember when
Like, he was
Brewski had to put him in his
unbelievable.
place because he's so cocky and that. And Brewski like, this kid's going to be really good.
I remember like Chad Jackson, and I remember being in the locker room when Chad Jackson and Lawrence Maroney got their first game checks, and they were like, "Look at this! Whoa!" and I think it was McGinnis walked by and just shook his head, looking at the two of them like these jackasses. So
Back when there were actually checks. When you got a piece of paper and that was actually delivered to you.
It's like
Yeah,
when Drew left Brady in the quarterback room.
yeah, so I think you would hope like because of that, because of what Josh has done to maybe try to evolve his offense and all the study that he did over the last year of where guys are at coming from college.
I kept saying too,
someone like
like,
Kyle Williams.
Did
had
you
a better
guys know, according to our research team, that where Kyle Williams was taken for the Patriots has been an incredible sweet spot in the NFL draft for receivers? You want to hear the list?
Yes.
It's an interesting list. Neil Collins and the research team picks 65 through 90. And using 65 as the spot, that's typically right around
Earliest.
where the third round begins.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the list going back in the last 10 years. 9 of the 30 guys taken have become a really good
Household
receiver.
names, yeah.
Like 1 in 3 shot of this being something that works. Tyler Lockett was taken 69.
I'd take him.
As was Cooper Kupp.
I'd take him.
Chris Godwin was 84th overall.
Nice.
Michael Gallup was 81st.
Nice.
Terry McLaurin was taken 76th.
That's unbelievable.
Nico Collins was taken 89th. Josh Palmer was taken 77th. Josh Downs was taken 79th. And Tank Dell was 69 as well. Another 69 in there for you. So there have been some good players that have come out of this area of the draft at that position.
You know what it is like, and I've made this argument. This is why you go tackle early, because it's really hard to find elite tackles that weren't drafted high. There aren't very many of them. There are a few, like Teron Armstead wound up being one, but there aren't very many. There are way more players at receiver that are outside, like your Amon-Ra St. Browns, your Terry McLaurins that were drafted like later. And I think the reason why, there's just depth in the sport in general at that position. Every great athlete now, because of 7-on-7, because of what they're seeing when they turn on the TV, like most great athletes want to play receiver. And so like I think the pool of athletes that just comes up in the sport through high school, through college is deeper, which I think is why you can find guys later in the draft, because there's just more of them than there are players at other positions.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.